So guys, you can see this is what our gummy worms look like. You've got salt water over here. You can see that kind of water is not as clear as the other two. And that's our gummy worm down there. In this second one, we have just plain water. You can look and make some observations about that one. And then over here, we've got some Sprite in this cup. You can look and see how it's making some bubbles on the gummy worm. We'll see what that makes it happen later. And then back here is our control gummy worm. Remember, nothing's going to happen to that one. It's not going to change. It's just going to be used to compare for our results at the end of the experiment. Hey guys, it's now almost 3 o'clock. I'm going to check on these gummy worms every now and then until it's time for the experiment to end. So this is what the salt water is looking like. Make some observations. This is what the regular water looks like. And then that's what the Sprite looks like. So, what observations can you make about these 3 different worms? How do they look the same? How do they look different? And then how do they compare to the original one, our control? All right, guys, I'll check on this tomorrow morning. Bye. Hey, guys, it's now the next morning. I'm taking a video of what our gummy worms look like. Got some interesting things happening here. This is the salt water. So make an observation about the color, the texture, what you think the length might be. This is the water. Look and see what happened right there. That's interesting. And then here is the Sprite. All right, guys, I'm gonna check on these again in a little while. Hey guys, it's now 9:20 in the morning. I'm doing another observation of my gummy worms. So here's what the salt water is looking like. The regular water. What can we see between these two? Remember, this one is the one with salt. This one is the one without it. What differences can we see? And then over here in our Sprite, I'm gonna zoom in a little bit. What do you notice about this gummy worm that's different than these two? And again, don't forget to compare it to our control gummy worm. That's what they looked like before, remember? All right, guys, I'll check in a little while. Bye. Hi guys, it's 11:20. It's been almost 24 hours since our gummy worms have been put in their solutions. So we're gonna do another real quick check-in with these. It's the salt water. The regular water. What can you see right there? What's happened, we think? And then the Sprite. So real quick, make some observations about this. Compare it back to our original gummy worm. All right, guys, I'll see y'all at 12:55. Hey guys, it's now been 24 hours since I put our gummy worms in their solutions, so we're gonna take them out and see what they look like now, so we can test our hypothesis, really. So this was what our original gummy worm looked like. Remember, it's red and yellow. It's about 2.5 inches long. The texture was kind of sticky, and it's just a piece of candy. I've already started to take the saltwater gummy worm out of the solution, and the yellow part is almost clear. You can see through this container. The red part is just barely pink. On the outside, it's already starting to get clear. When I touched it with my plastic spoon, it broke into tiny little pieces. So I can't really measure it right now because it's all in different pieces. But before I did take it out, I could see that it grew a little bit, not a whole lot. But it's very, very squishy. Again, it broke apart whenever I touched it with my spoon. So I'm going to put that one back in its container. Now I'm going to move on to the water. Remember, this was just plain water. This one, I don't know if you saw in the previous videos, it did break apart in the cup. But when I pull it out, it's still breaking apart, but it's staying in bigger chunks than the saltwater one did. So that's interesting. It's even lighter in color than the saltwater one. The pink is almost all completely gone. Okay. So if you can see, this is, you can barely even see it. It's so clear. And this one also grew a lot. I would say that one almost doubled in size. Okay. And now I'm not even going to try and take this one out of its cup. This one is almost completely gone. And I have some ideas as to why that might be. But if you look right here, that's where the rest of it kind of is. The red part is all completely gone. And there's just a little bit left of the white part. There's tiny little pieces of it floating around in the Sprite. But there's not much gummy worm left. So we're going to take what we've learned, our results, and now we're going to organize them. Remember, this was our chart from before. Okay? That was all of our information. So now, I'm going to scroll down. We're going to fill it all out. Okay? Remember, our control was that first gummy worm that we didn't put in any solution, so it's all the same. So it's still red and yellow. The length is still 2.5 inches. And it still feels sticky. Alright, now our water. This one, I would say it's almost clear. And very, very pale pink. Its length, I think it about doubled in length. So I'm going to say it was 4 inches. Because it wasn't quite twice as long. But it was still about 4 inches long. And it feels, it's very slimy. It's very soft. It's kind of gross feeling. So I'm going to say it's slimy. Alright, my saltwater one. It grew, but not as much as the regular water one. So I'm going to say it's about 3 inches long. And again, these are just kind of guesstimates. Remember, they all broke into pieces, so I'm just using the best that I can without being able to actually measure them. All right, this one was a very light yellow. And pale pink. And I would say this one's pretty slimy too. And then my Sprite. So this one was almost completely clear. This one, I would say it got smaller because part of it dissolved. I would say about 1/2 inch of that is gone. So this one did not grow, it shrank. That's right, shrink, not what I meant to write. So I'm going to say this one was 2 inches. And then I didn't touch this one because I didn't take it out. Sometimes you have to use your judgment as a scientist and not touch things, even when it might help your results. You have to think of your safety first. So I'm going to leave that one blank, okay? Because again, what we're trying to find is not what it looks like or what it feels like, but the size of it, remember? So what conclusions can we make about how the size of gummy worms is affected by different solutions or liquids that you put it in? In the water, it grew. So remember in my research, I said that gummy worms are almost all completely gelatin and water and like sugar. So I'm thinking that the water absorbed into the gummy worm and made it get bigger. And so since I use salt water, maybe not as much water could get absorbed. And then for the Sprite, I don't know why that one shrank, but I do know that Sprite has a lot of acidity in it. So that might have broken down and dissolved some of the gummy worms. All of these things we could test out more and more in their own experiments, but we've gotten what we looked for. So when you're doing this activity, I want you to think about what you thought was going to happen versus what actually happened. And also, did we find a final answer in this? Mm-mm, because this was the only one experiment that we did. So if we wanted to have a final answer or a final solution, we'd have to repeat this many more times. We'd probably have to change things about it. Like I would probably take out the Sprite and just do different concentrations of water versus salt water. So I would have to redo this as many times as I needed to make sure I'm getting the same results each time. So on that last question, I want you to think about how would you make this different? Would you use a different soft drink maybe, or a different drink at all? Or would you use more salt water with more salt or less salt in it and just focus on that one? All of these things are available for you to do as scientists, and you have to think about what you're looking for, what results you're trying to find, okay? So now what we can do that we've gotten our data organized, we can reach a conclusion. And so to do that, I like to go back to my hypothesis. Now I like to kind of measure it against that. So my hypothesis, I said if I put a gummy worm in liquid, then it will change size. And guess what? That was pretty much true. Okay? Now I can have a conclusion. And there are different ways that you can state conclusions too, but we're not going to go into that right now. And remember, I can't confirm my hypothesis after only one test, okay? I can support my hypothesis, but I can't necessarily confirm it or deny it after one test. Like I said, you've got to do these tests many, many times. So I'm going to say that putting a gummy worm in a liquid does change, or I'm going to say can change its size. All right, there you go. Bye, guys.